So, hello. The session that we're going to be doing tonight is going to be a little bit overwhelming, but that's okay. We like to overwhelm you at university. It builds character. What we're going to be looking at is how to basically get the most out of your research and a little bit of referencing. So, the biggest problem that people have with research is they don't really know what the big picture looks like, the overall picture of what you're doing. So we're going to be looking at that and show you the basics of how to grab some words to get started, how to use the tools to get some stuff. And I could talk for hours about both topics, but I'm going to try to only talk for an hour about both of them together. So there'll be a lot being pushed in at the same time. However, it's important to remember that the whole purpose of librarians is to answer questions. It's why God made us. If we're not answering questions, we feel sad and lonely. So at any point in time that you need to ask some follow-up questions or learn more, you can use one of our many contact methods, probably chat. Everyone loves chat. And if we're not on chat, you can leave a question with us and we'll get back to you via email. And we can give you some more details. There'll be other classes happening at the library throughout the course of the trimester. We haven't put them up to register yet, but they're going to come. They usually kick in around about week 2 or 3. And depending on what subjects you're doing, you may have some library components happening in the middle of it as well. So there's going to be opportunities for you to revisit a lot of the concepts that I'm going to mention in today's session. But the main point of the session is just to make you aware of the process of finding information for your assignments and referencing it and using the guides. Lisa, back to you.
Sharon did very briefly mention that this may feel overwhelming. Remember, this is a recording, so you can review it if you feel that way and stop and make notes. A lot of what you come across in the next week and a half, 2 weeks may feel overwhelming, but it's the beginning. You're not meant to know everything yet. So that's part of why you're starting at the beginning. One of the things Sharon will focus on this evening as well is where you can go to get the information that she is an expert in when you want to start learning these things for yourself. And when you actually, maybe you will never really want to, but you will need to. So I'll hand you back to Sharon now.
Okay. Well, I might share my screen so the magic can begin. So, the most important thing to know about researching for your assignments is it all starts with the keywords. So you have to actually have some words to chuck into the machines to do some research in the first place. And your assignment question's the place to start looking for that.
Oh, oh,
So,
oh, do
yes,
you have an assignment question you want to work with?
I have a fake one.
I lost part of your audio then. Did you say you've got one?
I've got a fake one, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Because I had an excellent idea, but I'm pretty sure yours will be similar to what I was thinking about anyway.
All right, we'll find out.
Excellent.
Okay, so I actually recommend that you do this bit almost straight away. So the minute you sit down with your subject, have a look at the assignment questions and start actually thinking about what those assignment questions mean. Because if you read your assignment questions ahead of doing your lectures, guess what you're going to notice during all of your lectures when they talk about something that's relevant to your assignment. Your assignments also don't take place in a vacuum. They also have relations to your lectures and to your readings. So guess what happens if you read your assignment questions ahead of doing your set readings?
Would you maybe know what you need to do?
Well, it might give you a good idea of things that you could look at. And as you're doing your readings, you might start picking up on some words that might be really handy to use for researching your assignment. So one of the things that we really suggest that you do is sit down at the beginning of any given trimester or semester and have a look at your assignment questions and start actually just doing a little bit of thinky, brainstormy stuff. And then when you're doing your class readings and your lectures, have a look at the concepts that they're talking about. Have a look, listen to the words and the terminology that comes up when they're talking about it and start making a note. somewhere of useful terminology for your assignment that you could then use to do some research with it. So you're going to bank that somewhere. And when it comes time to actually start looking at your assignment, you got a nice little bank of some pre-thinking stuff that you've already done. And then you can sit down and start getting a bit more strategic with what it is that you're doing. Another thing that I suggest that you do is you think about doing some pre-research research. So have you guys used Google before? Yeah? You've used Google? What about Wikipedia? Has anyone used Wikipedia? Okay, cool. Can you use Wikipedia in your assignments? Why can't you use Wikipedia in your assignments? Yes, anyone can edit. So there's two reasons why you can't use Wikipedia in your assignment. Reason number one is it's not a scholarly source. So when you're doing your assignments, 90% of the time, you're going to be asked to find scholarly sources. Now, your scholarly sources are things like journal articles primarily. So you're going to be spending a lot of time at university looking for journal articles. Then there are going to be other reliable sources like particular types of information databases specific for your particular subject area. So there may be like drug databases for if you're doing pharmacy or nursing or something like that. There might be databases where you'll find specific types of information for the stuff that you're doing. There's also scholarly level books as opposed to the fun books. If the book is fun and you enjoy reading it, it probably isn't suitable for your assignment. Sorry about that. But you'll get books and book chapters of edited books and web pages written by authoritative sources. So it's not just web pages written by anybody, but web pages written by people or organizations that look like they actually know what they're talking about and have a reason to be telling you things about this. So government web pages, education web pages, really quality sources. Make sure whenever you're looking at any source, make sure whenever you're looking at any source, whether it's a book, a journal article, or newspaper article, a web page, regardless, you always ask yourself who wrote it, because that's really important. You need to be able to identify who's responsible for the information to make sure that they're a good, reliable source. Who are they writing it for? Is it suitable for an academic context? Is it suitable for a professional context? Or is it only something for the average person on the street to read and enjoy? As previously mentioned, if it's enjoyable, it's probably not useful. But you can get some words out of it. So reading the fun stuff can help you get some ideas that you can then use to research to get the more interesting stuff out of it. Um, but yeah, so you're looking for something that's got a reliable scholarly source. You're looking for something that's relatively up to date. As much as possible, you want to try to find information that's current. So depending on what subject you're doing, you're probably looking for information from the last 5 or so years. Health sciences, definitely within the last 5 years, is the golden period that you want most of your info to come from. Older than that has to be for a reason. It's seminal information that doesn't change, like the average heart rate of a human being, or the historical basis of something. Like if you're talking about when they first discovered a vaccine, you can talk about that using older material. But whether the vaccine's still working, you need to get modern, up-to-date material. Now, this changes from subject to subject. So things like medical sciences and stuff like that, the information is a very short use by date. Whereas if you're looking at something like literature or history, it's got a very long use by date. Something like business or education's a little bit longer than medical sciences, but still quite short. You do really want to keep things within that last period of time. And whenever you are looking at when something was written, also have a bit of an idea in your mind about, um, let's just say, major world events, because something may have happened in the last 5 or so years that completely changed the way people do stuff or approach things. So if you're getting information that was from before that particular world event, you may have to contextualize it and make sure it's clear that you're aware of the fact that said major world event happened and that things changed after that point. And you've got a lot of information about what happened after that point that's also relevant and to the point. So these are some things that you're going to keep in mind as you're looking for information. You want to find something that's scholarly and suitable for a university or a professional context. Wikipedia is not. So that's one of the main reasons why you don't use Wikipedia. But at some point in the future, you actually might, because it might be the only logical source for that particular piece of information. The other reason why you don't use Wikipedia for your assignments is, as someone just mentioned in the chat, that anyone can edit. So at any given time, you don't know whether or not the information that you're reading is actually correct and up to date. However, any good Wikipedia article will have stacks of references, and you can always take a look at the references and read those and see what else they've got. And what Wikipedia is really, really good for is providing some background context and some vocabulary. So you can start getting an idea of what sort of words and terminology is used when talking about this. So you can get a bit of an idea about what some of the main concepts are. And you're going to want to use those concepts to find more reliable scholarly sources later on. So it's great for that. Google, of course,
Can
isn't a
I
source.
just interrupt? Are you
Yes, you may.
suggesting that they can use like familiar stuff to find their feet and build a little bit of foundational knowledge before they go to the
Absolutely.
ah,
So while you can't use the fun stuff necessarily in your assignment, you can totally use it to do some little um, backgrounding? Yes.
backgrounding? Yes. Okay. So
Backgrounding.
we'll do some backgrounding on
Backgrounding,
laying
yes.
the foundations. So while we're in the foundational stage, Sharon, I'll take you to the next thing you have to worry about.
Okay. So, let's go to a question. Let's actually tear something apart and take a look at it. So this is our fake question that we're using today. High turnover in staffing is a problem faced by many professions. Identify major causes for high staff turnover in a profession of your choice and analyze the social, economic, political, or ethical impact of poor staff retention in this field. What can be done to limit the impacts? Now, this is a fairly typical example of a question, but some of them can be a lot more controlled and questioning, and some of them can be a lot broader and all over the place. And I mean a lot broader and all over the place. I've seen questions take up like 2 or 3 sheets of A4 paper, and it's like, what the hell, people? What do you want me to do? And that's actually a really important question to ask yourself at any given time. What are you supposed to do? So as you're tearing apart this question to figure out what you've got, you need to find out what the major concepts are and if there are any blanks you need to fill in. You need to work out what you're supposed to do. So are you supposed to discuss something? Are you supposed to analyze something? Are you supposed to give um, pros and cons about something or describe it or what? What are you supposed to do? So find what you're supposed to do with once you've found your major concepts, and then work out if there are any limits. What's the scope that it's asked you to do? The limits will help you figure out how to add some stuff in, but that it will also give you an idea of when you're going off piste. What I thoroughly recommend that you do is you actually write all these things down and put them somewhere where, as you're doing your research, you can just regularly look at that sheet of paper where you've answered these questions. What are the major concepts? What am I supposed to do? And what are the limits? So you can tell when you're actually gone off on a tangent, because I don't know about you, but I start researching something and then I discover something interesting, and then I discover something interesting, and then I discover something interesting, and then I forget what I'm doing. And oh, look, a squirrel. Anywho,
Well, I'm going to actually confess that that is definitely an area I still work on, but have spent much time working on. So, as Sharon has just mentioned, having a couple of notes pinned somewhere right in front of you is not a bad move. It can keep you from going down those interesting little rabbit holes a little bit.
a little bit. I mean, you're going to go in the rabbit holes anyway, and you should, because life should be full of joy. But do have that little reminder to help bring you back and center you down into the assignment that you're doing. Okay, this is a good thing. If a lot of them will give you an option to actually pick your own topic to an extent, and if it does that, then that's really handy for you, because that means you can actually use the assignment to further your own interests. When you're doing assignments, it can seem like you're just jumping through hoops for the sake of jumping through hoops, but your assignments are actually learning activities. They're giving you the option to go out and do some research and learn some stuff about things that you haven't covered in class. So it's really good if you actually figure out what would be useful to you in the career that you want to do. So if you're studying nursing, pick nursing because that's actually going to be useful to you in the career that you want to do. If you're going to be doing a business degree, pick economics or whatever it is because that's going to be useful to you. So try your best to actually get something out of every assignment that you're doing so that the research that you're doing for your assignment is helping you to build your information personality for the career that you're going into. I will pause for a minute to ask you a question. It's a very important question. I have a tendency to throw this at most of the classes I do. How would you feel if you went to see a medical professional of some description, whether it's an OT or a doctor or a psychologist or what have you, and you discovered that they hadn't read anything new about their field since they graduated from university? Yeah. Part of being a good professional is being up to date with the information that's coming out about your field and your area. One of the things you get to do in university is work out where the best sources of information are. So if you find that you're constantly getting really good articles from this one particular journal, maybe you want to subscribe to that journal when you graduate from university so that you can keep up to date with it, or at least figure out how you can keep finding out what's been published so that you can then come into a library and have a look at the journal, things like that.
Why
Yes,
would they
Miss
not
Lisa?
need to subscribe to the journal now?
They don't need to subscribe to the journal now because someone may have already paid for it, including all of the
Ah,
databases. So this is really a good try before you buy opportunity when you've got a university library giving you access to all the ebooks and journal articles that we have in our catalog.
and what if something they want that they found on maybe Google Scholar but can't access because they need to pay for it is something they want to look for in our database or
Well, if you
subscription?
actually look for said article or book chapter, and we actually already do subscribe to it, you'd be surprised how many times I have found something on the interwebs and thought, I wonder if we have that. Put it in our search box, and lo and behold, we have it. Then it's right there and you can use it. However, if it's not something that we have, we can actually get that from another library cheaper than you can get it from the actual publisher. And when I say we, I mean you still pay for it. So if it's an interlibrary loan that we have to get from another library, a book or something like that, then you'll have to pay for us to get that book over. But for something like a journal article or something like that, we have a number of ways where we can just get that article for you to have a look at if necessary. So it all depends on what the article is and whether or not we can get it from another library that's part of our little gang. But it's always worth trying. So it definitely take advantage of all the library stuff while you've got the chance so that you don't have to pay for it yourself and so that you can work out what's actually worth paying for once you leave. Okay, so we picked a profession. We're going to choose something that's useful for our future career, or alternatively, choose something that will give you a lot to talk about. We're going to try nursing first. If we can't get enough information about that, we're going to go to a broader category like healthcare, or we'll pick a different topic entirely like teaching. Now, this is one of the main reasons why I suggest that you start doing research for your assignment a couple of weeks out from when your assignment's due, so that you've got time to actually work out whether or not you can find a good range of information to answer the question. If you spend a couple of days trying to find info about nursing and you come up with bupkis, it's good to know that when you've got plenty of time to say, well, that's not working. I'll just skip to healthcare in general, or maybe try something, find something that everyone's talking about with burnout, like teaching or whatever. So, definitely give yourself the gift of time. Don't start researching 2 days before your assignment's due. Two reasons for that. One, you don't have time to change your mind if you need to. Two, guess what happens after you find all the journal articles and books that you want to use for your assignment? After you download them, say you found them, you've downloaded them, you now have 8 journal articles, couple of book chapters, then what? Yeah, you need to read them. Reading takes more time than you think it does. always assume that reading takes more time than you think it does. I'm going to give you some tips on how to read smarter, not harder, but you're still going to have to take the time to read it and to think about what it means and to go realize that you've got a gap and you need to find some more information about something, or that this particular article that you downloaded is about as useful as a cheeseburger to a drowning elephant, so you need to find something better. And you're going to need to give yourself time to do that. So definitely schedule the research part of your assignment for a couple of weeks at least out from when your assignment's due, so that you've got the time to do all this argy-bargy about the place. Okay, now the first starting point for our question is we've got nursing is one of our main topics. So if we go back to the question, we chose a field. Our field is nursing. Now we need to look at high staff turnover in that particular field. And then we've got to look at the social, economical, or ethical impact for poor staff retention in that field. So we're starting with some of our major concepts, which is nursing and staff turnover. So those are the major concepts that we're looking for. As we're looking for nursing and staff turnover, then we'll bring in some of the other ideas like economics and all that sort of jazz. But we start with getting our major concepts. I don't care about nursing. I care about nursing as it pertains to staff turnover. I don't care about staff turnover. I care about staff turnover. It pertains to nursing. I care about both of those as it pertains to economic impact or mental health or something else. So that's my other major concept. And these are the ideas that I'm starting with. And then I start to brainstorm out some different terminology, some of which I already have because I paid attention to my lectures and when I was doing my readings and I grabbed some stuff out of Wikipedia, some of which I may need to go hunting for, or talk to my classmates in a nice little brainstorming session, or maybe just, bail up random strangers in the street and ask them what they think.
There might even be opportunities to have discussions like that in classes or via
Absolutely.
discussion boards. So that could be something you want to make use of.
Discussion boards are great as long as you use them. If you don't use them, they tend to be kind of useless. So definitely put a little bit of effort into those. So here's some options for staff turnover. We've got turnover of staff, and yep, that can actually make a difference. The order of the words can change the sort of results that you get at times, depending on how you're doing your search. Employee staff turnover, staff rotation, staff attrition. Can you think of any other words that might belong with that if you're looking at staff turnover?
Dissatisfaction, happiness.
Dissatisfaction? Yeah, when you start looking for these things, you may find more. Do you know what's a really good place to do this? Have you heard of a little something called AI?
Huh? What? You're saying I can use AI at university?
Absolutely. This is something that AI is really good for. You get onto something like Google Gemini or Copilot, which you or guys all have access to inside Edge as part of your JCU stuff. You can actually ask the AI system if it can help you come up with alternate terms. So if
Who
you
would
get
have
stuck
thought I
in
can
the
use
brainstorming,
AI and I won't get in trouble because I'm doing it ethically?
yes. So have a look at some of the terminology that you can dig out of that. Go hunting, go for a bit of a read around, see what else you got. So nursing, some alternatives for nursing could be nurses. Yes, that can make a difference. Healthcare or healthcare, whether it's one word or two words, that can make a difference. Healthcare workers or professionals. Why do these variations make a difference to the results that you're getting? Why would I get different results looking for nurses than I would looking for nursing?
Oh, nursing is about the role. Trigger
Mm-hmm.
words. Anything else?
Yep. People versus
Mm.
profession. It all comes down to who's actually writing the paper and what words they've chosen. So you may get somebody who's written an entire paper using the word nurses who's never once said nursing. It's possible, it may happen. Or they haven't put the word nursing in the subject headings, which is what the tool is using to find the articles. The word nursing is just sitting in a paragraph somewhere. It's not anywhere what the machine's actually looking to get it. So brainstorming out alternate terms is really important. Another thing you might want to brainstorm out is whether or not there's a different word depending on who's writing it. So I'm just going to ask you a trick question here. How do you spell the word color? Is there another way to spell the word color? What about behavior? What about hematoma?
Mhm.
Pediatric. So all of these words have spelling variations depending on whether you're using American Standard English or British Standard English. What do we use in Australia? We primarily use British Standard English. You will be expected to use British Standard English for your assignments, but when people are actually writing the journal articles, they could be using either. It depends on where they think they're going to get published. So being able to just have a bit of a brainstorm about the different terminology that's used is that thing that sits in your pocket and goes off in the middle of lectures and makes people stare at you called a mobile phone, a cell phone. What? So have a bit of a thought about alternate terms for that sort of thing as well. Think about who's writing the material, where it's coming from, what sort of vocabulary they're going to be using around the place. Okay, once you've got a handful of terms, then you want to look for some key phrases because key phrases always makes life interesting. So I got something like staff turnover as a phrase with the question marks. What the question marks are doing is it's saying, look, I want you to treat this as if it's one word. I want you to find these words in this exact order. Everything between this has to go together. Otherwise, if it didn't do that, it would be finding staff wherever it turned up and turnover wherever it turned up. Can I illustrate that? Let's see if I can illustrate that. I feel like doing something fun. So let's go to the library. And we're going to go to OneSearch. So here we are on the library website. You can get here by going to JCU and then clicking on library at the top of any JCU page, or you can just Google JCU library and it will bring you to us or John Croft University. But you know, we're better than John Croft, so ignore them and come back to us. Let's go staff turnover. Now, staff turnover often comes together as a phrase, so this probably won't make a huge difference. At the moment, I've got 29,000 results. Let's see what
If
happens if
you
I...
don't believe me, just watch because that is actually not a huge number for your first round of searching. What did you put in as filters, Sharon?
I haven't put in any
Nothing.
filters yet.
Oh
All
my
I've done
gosh.
is put it in quotation marks, and from 29,000, I've gone down to what? 7,000.
Again, that's
So
actually a fairly small number for this early in the process.
yeah, so instead of staff turnover turning up wherever, they have to be right next to each other in that order. Now you can see it is still finding turnover all little by its little lonesome self. So what it's doing is it's favoring what I've asked it to find, and then after it runs out of the things that it's favoring, it's also bringing in the two things separately. So that's what a lot of the tools will do. If you put it in quotation marks, it will favor it as a phrase, and all of those results will be primarily what it's looking for. It works for Google as well. So if you're getting too many results for Google, start bringing in some key phrases, and that will help narrow it down. Meanwhile, let's just have a little bit of a short look at what I've got here. I've got articles, I've got books, I've got more articles, more books. Oop, a video. Here's some more books. I've probably got some book chapters. So what OneSearch is looking through is it's specifically looking through the things that we have in our collection. It's looking for stuff that we've got in our catalog. It's looking for stuff that we've got in a lot of our online collections. So in the grand scheme of things, you'll have to forgive my fishing analogies. I use them all the time. I don't fish. I don't care. If you were using Google, that would be like going out into the middle of the ocean with a fleet of trawlers. You'll get a lot of the tuna that you're looking for, but you'll also get a hell of a lot of bycatch. So if you want to have fewer dolphins, it's best to come in land from where the dolphins are. This, using OneSearch, is basically like coming to the mouth of the river with one big net. You're still going to let it get a lot of bycatch in with the stuff that you're looking for, but you're going to get more of the stuff that you're looking for and less of the bycatch. And you're going to have more options for eliminating the bycatch and narrowing down to just the fishies that you wanted to. At some point in your life, you're going to want to have some very specific fishies. In that case, you're going to want to go to the subject-specific databases.